Hey y'all, how are y'all doing? I hope everyone's having a great day. So here it is super hot, super muggy. It has been so wet. And so I just got through doing a walk, and then I came in and cleaned myself up a little bit. And so I wanted to jump on here and I wanted to show you guys how we make toothpaste. So mostly we've been doing cooking on this channel so far, but my husband ran out of toothpaste last night and we make our own. So I thought it'd be a great time to kind of give you guys, a recipe and how we make toothpaste. Now, I don't have like a set measurements here. This is definitely a measure with your heart. I'm just going to go ahead and dive into that. I'm going to show you the ingredients and then I'll turn the camera down so that you guys can see a better angle of me actually mixing everything together. So I just have coconut oil. It's the one that is unrefined. And if you can get organic, if you can find it and afford it, that's great. If not, just as long as it's the kind that still tastes like coconut is the one we prefer. You can use the other one. I'm sure it'll work just fine, but this one's going to have more of the properties that we want in the toothpaste. And then I'm just using good old baking soda. Any brand is fine. This is just what I have at the moment, so use what you have, use what you love. And then I'm also using some Zithritol. This one happens to be the Trim Healthy Mama brand. I do highly recommend their brands of products. I love what they stand for. I definitely like supporting them when I can, and they can be a bit more expensive than other brands, but I know where they're sourced from. I know, I just trust what they stand behind, and so I like their products and I like their brand, and I truly adore them. This is a product that, so when we went to the dentist and our kids were really young and we told them that we aren't doing fluorides, which is why we make our own toothpaste. We don't want any fluorides of any kind. We filter our own water so that we don't have fluorides. And so they even recommended, our children's dentist recommended that we add this to the toothpaste because it helps to bind to the bacteria in your mouth, and that will help to prevent it from binding to your teeth. So that kind of all just works together. Now, from time to time, I will also sometimes put bentonite clay in our toothpaste. Currently, I am out of that product, and when we first started, we weren't putting it in there, and we had good bills of health with all of our dental stuff, and we didn't have any problems. The other thing is my husband... he dips and he smokes cigars and drinks coffee and all those kinds of things, and he truly enjoys his toothpaste and he really likes it, and it's really helped him, and he doesn't have any dental problems either. So sometimes dental problems are more genetic, but for us this has worked really well, even with us that have genetic issues with our teeth. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around, and then we can chat and we can work on making this toothpaste. I also realized that I forgot to mention that I add essential oils to our toothpaste so that we get the flavors that we want. So we've all kind of favored towards spearmint. You can certainly use whatever flavors you like. Just make sure you do your research that you're not putting one in there that you probably shouldn't, have in your mouth, because some of them can be very hot. And so you want to be careful with that. I know wintergreen is not really one that you're supposed to ingest. Granted, you're going to spit the toothpaste out. You can choose to spit the toothpaste out in the trash can if you want. I haven't had a problem spitting it out in the sink or not using that much. So it's totally up to you on how you want to go about that. And if you were curious, I'm sure someone's going to ask, over here I have meat thawing out. And the way we thaw out our meat to make it faster is just to put it in water and let it sit out for a few hours, and it thaws out really fast. So we've got some things going on tonight, so I am going to need to cook dinner early, and hopefully I will get you guys in on that action as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I do is I just take, I have a couple of empty jars that I'm just going to put the toothpaste in whenever I'm done, and I just pour as much as I think I'm going to need. Now I'm making 2 jars, so that whole jar, if I fill this whole jar up, probably lasts us about 6 months, and I just do 1 jar per person so that, if someone's worried about germs, they can all just have their own, because we all dip our toothpaste in there, so everyone will have their own, so that you're not feeling like, ew, I don't want your germs in my toothpaste. But it is what it is. So I'm just putting a decent amount in here. I actually still have some toothpaste left, so I don't need to make any more. Even though the last time I put olive oil in mine, I don't recommend that. I just was, testing some things out to see what would happen. And when I put olive oil in mine, it just really didn't, it kind of, like, I thought it would be helpful, but it was making more of my teeth a bit more yellow, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. So I've just probably put a little less than half in this bowl right here. And then I'm just going to sprinkle in the baking soda. And it'll have some chunks in there, but you can stir it out. And then I'm just going to mix that around and stir that up. So I'm just mixing it up. Let's see if I can move the camera a bit. So I just mix it up like so until I feel that it's the consistency that I want it. And you don't want it to be too gritty, so you just have to figure out what the right measurement is for you, because you definitely want a little bit of that baking soda in there to help with the scrubbing of your teeth, but you don't want it to be too gritty and salty. The xylitol will dissolve in here, so you'll just have like a little bit of a sweetness. So I really like the pairing of the spearmint with that, and so it just really helps make the toothpaste kind of have that taste and feel like regular toothpaste while it's also freshening your breath. So we've all really enjoyed it. So I'm just mixing it until I feel like it's at a consistency that I like. So right now it's still looking a bit more coconut oil, which that's going to be your base. That's going to be your most used ingredient anyways. I don't know, sometimes maybe the baking soda and the coconut oil are like a half and half, but you'll be able to tell. And you think it might be too salty, but I've never really had a problem with it being too salty. I just mix until I like the way it looks. So I think one time my husband might have put a little bit too much baking soda, or maybe he added salt to his because of whatever minerals he wanted to add in there, and then he made it too salty. So we just added a bit more sweetener, and that worked. It made it fine. So, and he's really enjoyed the toothpaste quite a lot. And then my teenage sons, they really like it as well. So I'm gonna go with that. So basically we just kind of go with it, and then once we've made the toothpaste, we just we go brush our teeth with it and see how it goes, see how we like it. So now this box is empty, so I'll have to grab another box if I need more. And then we brush our teeth and decide if it's the right texture and consistency. And if it is, then we are good to go and we're done. And then if it's not, we will add whatever extras it needs. So if it needs more baking soda, we'll add more baking soda. If it needs more spearmint, then we'll add more of that. If it needs more of the xylitol, then we'll add that. So it just go by what feels good in your mouth. You know, that's the measuring I'm going to do here, is just the texture that feels good in your mouth. So, and really you don't need very much when you actually do brush your teeth. It really does not take that much at all. So this would probably be the most expensive ingredient. So, and it really doesn't take much of this either. But like I said, I'm just going to pour some in there, because the more you pour in there, the sweeter it's going to be. So you do have to, you know, think about that too. It just depends on how sweet you want your toothpaste to taste. But you do want enough in there so that it does the job that it's supposed to do by clinging to the bacteria and keeping it off of your teeth. So that's just how we have learned to make it. We've been making this toothpaste for about, oh man, I guess almost 10 years, like 2015. So yeah, about 10 years. So maybe even a little bit before 2015, somewhere in there. You know, we started dabbling in all that. And what alarmed us was, you know, we've been through a lot of different medical things in our journey in our lives, and one of our kids had a very serious medical issue come up. And so we started looking into everything and being very aware of the different, things in our food, things in our medicine, and, just aware of all the things that are in things. And so when we came across the toothpaste and we're like, well, why is there a poison control label on the toothpaste? That just doesn't make sense, so it's like, if swallowed, you're supposed to call the poison control. And so that made us think, well, what's in here? So we did some research and figuring out what's in there, and it just didn't sit right with us to use a product in our mouth that has a poison control warning. So if you think about it, a diabetic person, whenever they have a low blood sugar, they're told to put the sugar ingredient under their tongue, like gummy bears. I'm not counting these. I should have. I usually count my drops, but now I'm just dropping them in there, so we're fully going by taste. I usually think I put around 30 drops, and I know that's not 30 drops, but we'll see how it goes. So anyways, back to the story. So if you have a diabetic person and they need blood sugar high because they're really low, they put, they drink juice because it's straight sugar, or you put gummy bears or honey or syrup under their tongue and hold it in their mouth so that way it can get to their bloodstream the fastest and quickest. And so if that's the case, and we're putting regular toothpaste with a poison control warning on it in our mouths, and it's, sitting in there and we're scrubbing our teeth, it's getting into our bloodstream very quickly. And so for us, that was just, it just didn't sit right in our hearts and our minds for us to do that. So we, went on some searches and figurings, and so we came up with this recipe for our own toothpaste, and it's been really great. We've really, really enjoyed it. So I guess the next step is to grab my toothbrush and brush my teeth for you guys, which may be awkward. So let me see if I can do that. I'm just going to grab a clean spoon so that way whenever I do this, I'm not, double dipping into this toothpaste until it becomes, my specific toothpaste. So I just got a little dab on there. Okay guys, I'm over here by my kitchen sink, and I'm going to brush my teeth for you so that you guys can get a reaction of what it's doing and how it's working, and then we'll go from there on how it tastes onto what we want to add to it. So it may be an awkward situation, but let's do this and see what happens. So it is a little gritty, but I think it's because the sugars haven't dissolved yet. So once they dissolve, it'll be better. So no worries there. I think it'll be good. It looks good. It feels good. The spearmint is definitely good. I like the flavor. I could probably add a little bit more so that it's a little bit more minty. But overall, it feels good. I think the saltiness is enough, so the baking soda is good. So I think the saltiness is enough. The baking soda is good. I probably should add a little bit more of the sweetener, and just so that way it can taste a little bit better. So we're gonna go add a little bit more, and then that should take care of us, and then I'll be right back. I'm just gonna add probably like 10 more drops of this, just because I want it to be a little bit more spearminty. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the end. And then we'll mix that up, and I do think that we will add just a bit more of the sweetener. I am making quite a big batch, so I'm not too concerned about using too much, but you just have to kind of like figure out what measurements you want. I really do not measure this by the cups. Almost everything else I do, I measure pretty spot on with utensils and stuff, but this, I'm not doing that. So we are just going to do what I normally would do. I don't want to change things too much for you guys as I'm filming. I want it to be real life stuff. So I just needed to rinse my mouth out again. So, but I think this should do it. And if anyone feels like it's just not quite to their liking, they are welcome to come into the kitchen and add any extra ingredients that they want. And so it's really not rocket science. It's a simple process and it's so easy. I can't guarantee you that it's going to be cheaper than regular toothpaste, in the sense that when you buy this toothpaste versus buying the store toothpaste, because you can coupon and you can do all the things and you can get that toothpaste for nearly free. But in the long run of health concerns and that side of things, I don't know that toothpaste can potentially cause health problems. I mean, I don't know if there's any studies out there that link that, and they probably, if there were, they wouldn't let us know about them. So I'm going to go with, this is a healthier option. So in the long run, it's going to be cheaper because it's a healthier option. So it could cost you more up front. But like I said, I can fill up one of these jars and get it to last 6 months to a year because you're not using that much. So, you know, if this jar, like, you know, this is about $10, this is about $10, this is about $3 or $4, you know, as much, you know, it's really relative. You know, these run anywhere from $10 to $20, and we just didn't use that much of it. So, you know, I still have about half of this jar left, and we've already made toothpaste with this now twice. So you just have to kind of decide what is worth spending your money on and what's worth your health. So it's totally up to you. I'm going to grab my measure, or no, it's dirty. So we're just going to have to spoon it in there. I don't have my mason jar thing clean. It's dirty because we live here and dishes didn't get done all the way yet. So we're just going to spoon it in there the best we can. And then it will be someone's jar of toothpaste. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So like if you're adding the bentonite clay to it, it's going to be a different color. And you really don't need to add that much. Like, I really just barely add any to it, like a tablespoon or so to each jar. And that's just, you know, it's just extra. So it's not necessary. And you can, you know, you can experiment with different ways you make it. So I know that with the bentonite clay, you do want to be more careful to make sure that it doesn't go bad, but I've never had any of it go bad. So you'll just have to decide, you know, try it, test it, see what you think. So that's all you can do. And then you figure out a recipe that works for you and how you like it, and then you go from there. So I'm just going to set that one in there. And then we're going to pour the rest in here. So I'm sure that my son will be extraordinarily happy that I made him toothpaste. My husband always has to bug me about it because even though it's easy, it is just that easy that I kind of get like, well, you know, I'm busy. You can make it. No big deal. So he was very requesting on it last night. And I was like, well, sure, I'll just go ahead and make it and make a video. And then the world can see how we make toothpaste. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. And it will benefit you guys in the long run. And if you do make it, please let me know. Please comment and, you know, write in the comments, what kind of toothpaste do you use? Do you use an organic toothpaste? Do you use fluoride? Do you think this is even a good idea? Does it sound gross to you to like brush your teeth with coconut oil? Because at first it does kind of sound like that's going to be gross. But we've like, you know, you just got to try new things sometimes. And when you try those new things, they become a big benefit. So you never know if you're going to like something until you try it. And it's really not, it's not as gross as it sounds to brush your teeth with coconut oil. So just give it a try, see what you think. Now, these aren't even, but I'm not going to sweat it. I'm just going to leave them like that. And then I'll try to use this up. I'm not going to rinse this out. I'm just going to use it up, you know, throughout the week. And then I'll get this done in about, you know, a few days or a week or so. And that way I don't waste any of that residue in the bowl. So if you have any more questions or if you want to, you know, ask me anything, just type it in the comments below and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.